Coming up on today's episode of the T.I.M.E Blueprint, we're going to be talking about investment planning and money. That's the M in the T.I.M.E Blueprint. This is a really important piece of the puzzle, isn't it, Frank?
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is where we're talking about how you're going to protect your money, how you're going to make that money grow in retirement, what are going to be the most responsible ways to do all of that, what kinds of investments should you be in, what's the best way to just format all of that. It's a really important part of the retirement planning process. We're going to dive into all of it on today's episode, so stay tuned. Welcome to the T.I.M.E Blueprint with Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. Here, we break down taxes, income, money, and estate planning, giving you the tools to make informed financial decisions and aim for better retirement outcomes. Your host is financial advisor Frank Oliver, the president and founder of Oliver Asset Management. He's the author of Your Time Is Now, sharing the essentials you need to know to craft a comprehensive and customized retirement plan. Dive in with us as we offer clear strategies and straightforward advice, all designed to empower you in your financial journey. Welcome to the T.I.M.E Blueprint. Welcome back to the T.I.M.E Blueprint. Walter Storholt alongside Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. And I can't wait to dive into today's topic, Frank, because, well, investments are fun to talk about, right? Like this must be the part of the T.I.M.E Blueprint process that people like discussing, right?
It's the most exciting part of my job is investing the money and choosing the different investments for the clients.
Yeah, even though you're not, let's be clear, and we're going to get into this, we're not picking, like stock picking, day trading, like broker, high level kind of like minutia like that. But still, it's fun to then say, here's where we're going to allocate the money and go from there.
The options today are so limitless as far as the different types of investments that are available for people. It really opens the doors to do just about anything with your money that you want your money to do.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
So far in our podcast, Frank, we've talked about taxes and income. Now we're on the money side.
Yep.
I'm just curious. Imagine they're in that order because it spells the word time,
Right.
but is it also in that order because it's kind of how you attack things in the planning process? Like does the investment piece come after you've addressed at least the income part?
Totally. You know, I tell people this all the time. You could be sitting down at a restaurant or hanging out having a beer, watching a football game, and somebody will come up next to you and ask you what you do for a living. You're, engaging in some light conversation, and you always say you're an investment advisor. Well, where should I invest my money? I can't tell anybody where to invest their money. Or we'll have somebody come into the office, and the first question is, where should I invest my money?
Yeah.
It's just a really hard answer to quantify until you have a plan built for these people.
Yeah.
You don't know how much money they're making, when they're going to retire, what level of assets they have, what their Social Security benefits are, the full-time plan.
Yeah.
So you're right. It comes later on in the planning process. You have to have the plan built to know what investments are going to make that plan work, right?
Yeah. So if we see each other out, I can't just walk up to you and say, "Hey, what stock should I pick this next week? What's going to be a really hot one?"
You can. I probably won't be able to give you the right answer, but you can. You can ask me anything you want.
You can give an answer,
I'll give
right?
an answer. I don't know if it's going to be the one you want or not. So
that disclaimer of this may not be right is important.
I
Yeah.
should get a T-shirt with a disclaimer on it.
That's right. Oh, that would be great. I'm a financial advisor, and then that would make a great T-shirt, would it not? I'm a financial advisor, and then have your long disclaimer in fine print underneath.
I'm doing it. I just thought of that too.
Ask me anything. Long fine print. Oh, fantastic.
Right.
You've got to trademark that. That'll be great.
I'm doing it.
All right, so let's talk about that process then. After we've established the income plan, we're looking at tax implications, all that kind of stuff. Now we want to start talking about investments with clients. What does the goal typically look for the dollars that kind of fall in this pot?
Well, and we break everything down into buckets for our clients. And I think it's just the easiest way for them to understand it. So you got to have your cash bucket for contingency expenses, emergency funds, vacation money. If you're going to get laid off from a job, that should be your cash bucket. So if you're working, we usually say 12 months. It may take you 12 months to find a job. The employment situation is pretty good right now, though. If you're retired and you're on pension and Social Security, maybe you don't need 12 months in a bank account because your pension and Social Security is not going to run out.
Okay.
So maybe 6 months in a bank account, but somewhere between 6 and 12 months cash. Then after that, you have to have the income bucket. So when it comes to investing your money, you can't put it all into the same bucket and expect that to work for you. So you got your income bucket, then you got your cash bucket, then you got your income bucket.
Okay.
Income bucket's 3 to 5 years. So we went through a pretty rough spell in last year, 2022. And 2023 is shaping up to be a better year, but it's challenging right now. Again, we're not sure how the year's going to end up. So if we go back to, an event that is probably still on the minds of most retirees would be the recession of 2008.
Yeah,
right? The Great Recession. So if you go back to the Great Recession of 2008, it probably took 3 years for the accounts to recover. The market was starting to recover much sooner than 3 years. But when you experience a 40 or 50% decline, it may take 3 years for your accounts to get back.
Yeah.
So you got to have some guardrails. You got to have some protection mechanisms in place on that income bucket, because you don't know when it's going to come back, and you can't be selling, assets at a loss to produce that income. So you got your cash bucket, 6 to 12 months. You got your income bucket, that's 3 to 5 years to take care of any situations that may happen with the markets. Then you got your growth bucket, because we always know that the markets are going to recover. We just don't know when they're going to recover, for how long they're going to recover. But we know over time the market's a great place to invest your money. It's just not always predictable.
Okay.
And there are so many awesome investments out there today for income planning that have principal guarantees. They have principal protected products out there to invest your money in all day long. Just a full toolbox of options for you.
So another way to look at all that would be your cash and emergency. You know that money's there.
Right.
Not touching it. You're not messing with it. It's not at risk. You can access it quickly. That's why it's in cash.
Right.
It's to cover those purposes. Then income, we can't have it fluctuating a lot. So it's going to, because we need that money this year or over the next 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So that dictates what kinds of investments are in that income bucket and category.
Right.
Okay. So you're not probably putting like stocks, mutual funds, things like that as much in the income side?
It's a much safer type of investing for the income bucket.
Okay.
But again, and that comes down to the income plan, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how much money you need from your total group of assets to put into the income bucket until we know how much income you need combined with Social Security to build that plan. So that's why the plan comes first, the investments come second. I think it also allows you, Walter, to build a better growth bucket, because there's this age-old, saying that, if you're 50 years old, you should be in a 50-50 portfolio. Okay. And if you're 60 years old, you should be in a 40 or a 60-40 or a 40-60 portfolio. 60% fixed, 40% bonds. I got dyslexic there for just a second.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But I think if you have the income bucket in place and you have some form of principal protection on those assets, I think it actually allows you to invest your growth bucket properly. So you actually experience some growth out of those funds, knowing that it's going to bounce around every once in a while. But over the long haul, given it a 5-year time frame, a better designed growth portfolio is going to do a better job for you. Put your conservative money in the cash bucket, in the income bucket, and then that allows you to invest a little better, a little more aggressively in the growth bucket.
So it just comes down to risk at that point. So if if we take care of the cash and the income side, it then gives us the permission, the freedom to be more aggressive and take more risk on those dollars we don't need today.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. Risk
Perfect.
is always growing your money a little bit better, but it's a little uncertain in the short-term horizon. Yeah.
So let's go down that line a little bit more and how you find this balance for folks. Is that risk level just based off of age, or do emotions play into it? What else do you use to balance the right mix of income, investments, and all those other factors?
Right. Well, we definitely have to be a fiduciary and do what's best for the client and kind of fit the investment strategy and the risk profile that meets their personality and their need.
Okay.
But for example, we have a client that's got, $3 or $4 million.
Okay.
And when he came to us, he was in the standard risk tolerance based off of your age profile, right? The standard model that everybody's used for years.
Okay.
And so after meeting with him for 6 months or a year, and he got, he retired, and we dove deep into his retirement planning and his objective for his funds. And I said, what's your objective for these funds? You have never come to me saying that I need some of these funds to live off of. He's like, it's all going to my kids. Every nickel is going to my kids. Okay. I said, and they have 2 pensions, maybe 3 pensions, because they've had a couple different jobs. They get 2 full Social Security benefits. They've been awesome with their money. They have very low debt. Their house is paid for. So they really do not need that money. But I didn't know if they were going to change their lifestyle. They're going to take big vacations, if they wanted their dream Corvette, if they're going to buy a boat, a cabin in Estes Park, a condo in Florida. I didn't know what they were going to do.
Right. Because you can say one thing, but then your actions may not match what your verbal plan was.
Exactly. And when we dove down and he clearly said, I do not need any of this money. It's all going to my kids if possible. Well, that kind of throws your age profile out of the risk equation, right?
Yeah.
Because if you got another 30 years to invest that money because you don't need any of it, then you don't need to be in the standard age-adjusted risk profile for that model, right?
Yeah, because you're really basing it off almost the kid's age at that point.
And at that, once we had that conversation, he totally agreed and realized that, maybe he was doing this incorrectly based on that poor advice that he had received.
Okay.
And so we went through and redesigned that portfolio. But if somebody's got $2, $3, $4, $5 million, which is a lot of money, I get it.
Yeah.
But if they could retire off of $500,000,
why not do that? Yeah.
Right. Maybe the $500,000 is theirs, and then you build something a little bit different for the wealth transfer, that additional money. So
that's a great example. You could have two people with the exact same amount of money in every account. They come in to meet with you, but the one change of, hey, I want every dollar in this bucket to pass to my kids, versus someone who says, no, we're going to buy the house in Florida and the condo in Estes Park and go crazy and just have a blast with those dollars. You're going to invest that same bucket of money, even though it's the exact same amounts and everything else about their situation is the same. The investments look totally different now because of that different risk profile and the timing of all of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, you'll have clients that don't even have children. And maybe those are the particular people that are going to go out and just go hog wild.
Sure.
And spend their money and enjoy it. And then you have clients that are very conservative and they're not going to change their lifestyle, and it does all go to the kids. So that's why designing a plan and understanding your clients is so crucial when it comes to investing the money, how to invest and how much risk to take and what they actually want those funds to do for them in the future.
Makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't always have to be just, is this going to go to the kids or not? It may be, hey, you've got a pension, but it's going to turn off, or you've got something, one of those income sources turns off at age 80.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to need now the money from your 401k at age 80. Right. So that sets your investing timeline and profile.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool how it can work in all those different ways. Let's talk a little bit about, whenever we talk about investments, then people logically kind of go to, all right, well, aren't there fees involved with investing? So if there's a concern about fees and investments, how do you particularly look for your clients to reduce fees, or at least help them understand the value of maybe how much their portfolio is costing them?
Yeah, that's a question that comes up regularly in my office with a newer client. And I don't mean to take away from the fee conversation, because fees are important and people can have what's known as fee drag on their portfolio, and it will reduce their overall net return. Fee drag. Absolutely.
That sounds like a boating term, isn't drag? Like, so, or even
it's like people that forget to pull their anchor up, they get anchor drag. Yeah, exactly.
There was a story before the show about that, folks.
Yeah,
it wasn't Frank's boat. Don't worry about it.
It wasn't my fault, really. Yeah, I was in the right on this one.
That's right.
So there is fee drag, and mutual funds are a victim of this sometimes. And I'm not saying mutual funds are bad, but you got to be careful of the fees on mutual funds. We typically use stocks or exchange traded funds, which are much lower on the fees.
Okay.
And again, as long as the fees are reasonable, I don't think people should really tear apart the fees too much if the advisor is doing a good job. And there's a lot of proof out there that a good advisor that's doing a good job, that's looking at everything like we do with the T.I.M.E plan, right? The T.I.M E blueprint. Right? Will be able to, protect you from some market risk. I think the average portfolio over X amount of time grew by 20% more than an unmanaged portfolio. An advisor that's able to help you out, save you tens of thousands of dollars a year on taxes, maybe structure, your plan for the RMDs and wealth transfer to the family. So I think a lot of times the fees get in the way of clients actually looking for a good advisor versus just looking at the fees and not realizing the value that they get out of that. But with that being said, you do need to look at the fees and make sure that you're not in expensive mutual funds, and that they're not loaded incorrectly. Some variable annuities have been known to have some high fees from time to time.
Hidden fees, is that a concern?
Hidden fees?
People don't even know where to look to find them sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm not picking apart products because I think that there's a lot of good products, mutual funds and everything else out there. But it's important. I just don't think I'd make that my sole focus when it comes to looking for value with an advisor. So
but if it's a concern, you help people uncover the number that's truly there there in terms of fees?
We're very transparent.
Yeah,
We'll show them the exact internal fee on everything that we use.
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
We're very transparent because we're confident that our fees are equal, if not lower than what they currently have.
Sure.
So
okay, very good. An important part of the process to ask those questions that are on your mind. If it's a concern, bring it up to Frank and the Oliver Asset Management team, and they'll get the answers for you. So what does your firm believe when it comes to if someone's heard this term, active or passive management of funds? And we're getting a little deeper down the line of talking about investment planning, but I know we'll have many listeners and viewers who have heard terms like that and get that detailed when they ask you questions about things. So when you're managing funds, can you explain what active and passive management is, and then what's your firm's philosophy on that?
Yeah, and there's two different schools of thought with that. Sometimes you can have an actively managed portfolio that is rebalanced too frequently, I believe. But then again, a passively managed portfolio may be rebalanced too infrequently. You know, so I think there's kind of a sweet spot in there.
Sure.
We base our rebalancing based on our client reviews. So whether they come in, 4 times a year, 3 times a year, 2 times a year, whatever they feel that need is as far as that review, that's when we look at the portfolio to rebalance, right?
Okay.
So that's our version of active management. We're not getting in there and changing things every 30 days. I think that's too active. I think that could actually be a detriment to the portfolio. But, not looking at a portfolio for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years also could be a detriment.
Yeah.
So if we meet with the clients, even if we met with them twice a year, and we meet with them more frequently than that, but even twice a year, we always got our finger on the pulse. We're talking to the client. We're making sure they understand their portfolio, and we do rebalance at that time as needed based on what's going on with economic events.
Are you ready to navigate the complexities of retirement with clarity and confidence? Let Oliver Asset Management be your guide. If you're ready to get serious about retirement, we can offer you a complimentary financial strategy session tailored just for you. You'll get to dive deep into your financial aspirations, uncover areas of opportunity, and set a clear roadmap toward your retirement goals. It's your opportunity to turn plans into actionable steps, all at no cost to you. Make the move toward a better informed retirement. Just schedule your free session today by visiting oliverassetmanagement.com or just click the link in the description of today's show. All right, Frank, great breakdown of investment planning. A lot to consider there. We could certainly spin this into 4, 5, 6 podcast episodes, I would imagine, getting into all the details, which we will. Over the course of the life of this podcast, we will dive into lots of different topics when it comes to this. But good to start high-level investment planning, the I in the Time blueprint. So again, if you want to go through the planning process with Frank and his team at Oliver Asset Management, he'll take you through and put together your own time blueprint, making sure that taxes, income, money, and of course, the estate planning piece are all taken care of in your retirement plan. You can schedule a free strategy conversation with Frank by going online to oliverassetmanagement.com. That's oliverassetmanagement.com. Or call the team if you want to talk on the phone first. Maybe you've got a little question you'd like answered first or want to ask a few additional pieces of information. That's fine too. 720-897-TIME is the number. 720-897-TIME. We're not done with the podcast yet. Coming up, Frank, we're going to get to know you a little bit better. We got a fun question for you this week, and we still have a great mailbag question coming up today. So we got that one from Jack. That's coming up as well. All right, time to get to know Frank Oliver a little bit better on the show today. So, Frank, here's my question for you on today's episode. What was the last TV show that you binge watched?
That's an easy one. Bloodline.
Bloodline. Great show.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really
it's my
good
second
show.
binge on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So you're like me. You'll rewatch a show.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
One like Bloodline?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just downloaded it to my iPad.
Yep.
And I watch it at night. I actually watch it on the boat, which probably isn't the best place to watch Bloodline because they're blowing up boats.
There are some boat issues in that movie. Yeah. Although at the same time, kind of appropriate.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
Watching movies on the boat sounds pretty awesome, by
it's
the
awesome.
way.
It's great.
Yeah. I when we've rented boats in Florida before, I enjoy like listening to like on a Saturday if you're out on the boat, like turning on college football and having that playing over the radio while you're driving around doing stuff. And
yeah,
I tried to do like watch NFL Red Zone while we were on the boat one time, but it was just so bright. It was really hard to see the screen and all that. So.
There's a lot of boats out there now that got Starlink activated on their boats.
Oh, yeah.
So they're getting
Okay.
Wi-Fi wherever they go on the lake. And
Nice.
they sit out there and they watch all the ball games and movies at night. And we'll stream movies to
That's
their
good
boats.
stuff.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Starlink on the lake this weekend shoot over.
Really?
You seen Starlink?
Well, I
sky
heard
yet?
that over northern Colorado, there had been some people were spotting it the last couple days.
It's pretty cool. I'll show you pictures. It
Okay.
was pretty neat to see. It's like aliens.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Neat.
It's pretty
Neat.
wild,
I got to get the camera out, do some like astrophotography or something, try and catch it
it's
streaking
pretty neat.
across
No,
the
I
sky.
know, but you love photography.
Yeah. So very cool. All right. So Bloodline was the last show. Yeah. Obviously,
it. Yep.
what do you like about Bloodline? If we turn this into a movie recommendation or a show recommendation, what about Bloodline do you
It's
like?
definitely not a child-friendly movie, so I don't know if I'd
Yes.
recommend
Disclaimer.
it if your grandkids are over there or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I just like the acting. The
it
whole
was good.
storyline is pretty cool, and the actors are phenomenal.
It's also
You know,
a pretty show. They're
It
in
is a pretty
South
show.
Florida. There's just visuals are cool.
so I do love Florida. I do love the setting that it's in, and it is filmed in Isle Morada. I think quite a bit of it, and we have a friend that's got a boat in Isle Morada.
Oh, cool.
So we actually sail or boat out of Isle Morada with my friend.
So then you feel like a connection to the location.
Yeah, and we actually went to a restaurant bar where quite a bit of it was filmed.
Is that right?
Via boat one time. So yeah, you kind of feel at home there.
That is
you
pretty
know?
cool. Yeah. They live an interesting lifestyle too. Like the main characters, they run basically like a small resort in the Keys of
Yeah, it was
Florida.
beautiful.
And it's just like a neat story
Yeah.
about the family, although
You
it
kind of
gets
want to
dark.
go there. Yeah, it is a dark story for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
But when you see the resort, it definitely makes you want to go to Isle Morada and go on vacation.
It made us want to like do that. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we just quit everything and went and ran a little tiny resort down at the
Right,
coast, and then
right.
you see the rest of the film or the rest of the show, and you're like, okay, never mind, I don't want to do that.
It's a pretty cool show though.
Very cool. All right, Bloodline. Check it out. Age appropriate, of course.
Exactly, yeah. John
But
Rayburn.
good show, John
Danny
Rayburn.
Rayburn, yeah.
That's right. All right, that's getting to know Frank. We still need to answer a viewer and listener question coming up next, so we'll do that. All right, it's the mailbag portion of our show here on the Time Blueprint, and we're going to answer a question from Jack in this portion of the program. Frank, Jack says, my pension doesn't provide an inflation raise each year, so I'll still be getting the same amount at 85 that I'll have at 65. Should I even bother taking the spousal continuation option for my wife to keep getting the monthly payment if she outlives me?
We do get that question a lot, Jack. So let me see if I can help you with that. We do a lot of pension planning in the office. And typically on a pension, one of the spouses, is eligible for 100% or 50% or 0% on that pension benefit. So if spouse number one passes and that spouse has the pension, the surviving spouse is entitled to some of that benefit depending on how you set that up. I think the problem that we see with that is that when the surviving spouse is receiving 100% of that pension, it's going to put the surviving spouse in a much higher tax bracket.
Okay.
So married filing joint versus single filer is an entirely different tax animal there. And so what happens is when that single filing spouse receives that same amount of income, it'll skyrocket their tax bracket,
Okay.
which is unfortunate. So I think that there's better alternatives to electing pension plans. And on this question here, should I even opt for the spousal benefit? If you do not opt for the spousal benefit, you're going to get a much higher payout on that pension.
Yeah.
I think there's some great tools for that. If you take that higher payout, let's say that you don't need it. You do
Okay.
not need that higher payout. Just take the difference between the 100% spousal benefit and the 0% spousal benefit, determine what that number is.
Okay.
And then take that additional revenue that you're producing that you don't need because you're going to give the spouse 100% anyway, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't give her 100% or give him 100% and you take the 0% option, your income goes up. You weren't going to have that anyway if you're giving the spouse some money. So if your income goes up, take that additional income, go out and buy yourself a life insurance policy.
Okay.
And it sounds like a different strategy that a lot of people are not used to because we think of life insurance as far as, paying off our house or something like that. Life insurance is tax-free. So if you take that additional benefit from that pension, put it into a life insurance policy, instead of the spouse getting, $1,800 a month for the rest of her life, maybe she can end up getting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 tax-free. That'll produce the same amount of money as the pension was going to produce anyway, taxable.
Yeah.
She's got control of that money. Plus, if both of you pass away, most pensions will not transfer those funds to the children. If you have a life insurance policy that you're buying with the pension, with the additional income that you weren't going to have anyway,
Okay.
if both spouses pass away in a car crash, then the children actually get that pension because the pension was buying that life insurance and it's tax-free. So there's a lot of great alternatives out there when you start to dig into it.
And that's where it pays to have somebody thinking creatively about how to properly prepare for retirement. That's one small little example.
Right.
And that's just a small piece of the puzzle, but one major difference in somebody's plan.
Right. Yeah. We call it the Pension Max plan.
Okay. Pension Max. Very
Absolutely.
cool.
Yep.
Well, I hope that example is helpful for you, Jack. If you would like to reach out to Frank, and that goes for anybody watching or listening to today's show, don't hesitate to reach out. Go through a free strategy session online today with Frank and the team. You can schedule it online. You'll come in and do that in person, of course. oliverassetmanagement.com is the website to go to. That's oliverassetmanagement.com. Or you can call 720-897-TIME to set up that time to visit as well. 720-897-TIME. And Frank, thank you for all of your help and guidance on the show today.
Appreciate it, Walter.
Enjoyed it. We'll see you next time, and we'll see all of you next time as well, right back here on the Time Blueprint. Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth, LLC, and Oliver Asset Management are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. Respond and learn how financial products, including life insurance and annuities, can be used in various planning strategies for retirement. The information contained herein is based on our understanding of current tax law. The tax and legislative information may be subject to change and different interpretations. We recommend that you seek professional tax advice for applicability to your personal situation.